Today, I'm going to discuss the direct entry or permanent employer-sponsored visa. So yes, if you have the relevant skills and experience in a relevant occupation and you've got an employer willing to sponsor you, you potentially can apply for a permanent employer-sponsored visa. Please note the information provided is general in nature and very brief. We actually have more detailed visas on the specific sections. This is done in 3 steps: the skill assessment, the nomination, and the visa application. So the skill assessment is done by the applicant, and basically you need to verify your skills and experience with an Australian organisation, and they'll look at your qualifications, your work experience, and just make sure that it meets the Australian standards. So for a carpenter, you go through Trades Recognition Australia. For an engineers, you'll go through Engineers Australia. Okay, so let's say you've got the skill assessment, you've got an employer willing to nominate you. So what does it take for an employer to nominate you? Well, firstly, your occupation which you're nominated for must be on the core skills occupation list. But the salary offered to you must be at least $76,515 on a full-time basis plus superannuation, or higher if the Australian market salary is higher. So they basically need to explain to immigration that, hey, we're going to pay this employee this much because this is what the Australian market salary is. Immigration doesn't want someone coming in and undercutting Australian workers. We'll need to offer you a full-time employment agreement showing the financial capacity to employ you for at least 2 years. So the employer needs to show that they've got the business has operating and financially can afford to employ you for the next 2 years. A very forgotten part of what is important with this is the genuineness of the position. So you will need to explain to immigration not just the genuine need, so we need to employ this person because we really need a carpenter because we can't find anyone, but that the position is genuine to the business. For example, there was a farmer who wanted to sponsor a carpenter, and it was really difficult to demonstrate that the applicant would actually be doing work full-time as a carpenter for the farmer. If it was a builder, it makes plenty of sense. The carpenter's going to be there and work for the builder. For a farmer, maybe they're doing a lot of other odd jobs around the farm, not specifically just carpentry. So you need to demonstrate that the position is genuine for the business. The nomination is lodged by the employer. The next step is the visa application, and this is done by the applicant. The applicant must show that they've got a skill assessment, competent English, and 3 years of full-time relevant work experience at the required skill level. All right, so at the required skill level often means post-qualification, so once you've finished your qualification. If you are working in an occupation that needs a license, you also need to be fully licensed in that occupation before you can apply for the visa. So essentially you need the skill assessment to start. The employer can then lodge the nomination, give you a receipt, and you can lodge the visa application, okay? You do not wait for the nomination to be approved before you can apply for the visa, but you do need to have that skill assessment before you apply for the visa. Cost-wise, the visa application charge is $4,910, and the nomination charges to the employer will be around $3,540 or $5,540, depending on the turnover of the business. The higher the turnover, the more the employer has to pay. Skill assessment charges, they vary depending on what type of skill assessment. They could be as low as $500, they could be upwards of $5,000 for an architect. So there's a lot of different costs there. That was a very basic and general overview. However, if you're looking to undertake this permanent residency step and would like to know about your specific situation, I would strongly recommend booking in for a consultation with one of our migration agents. They can learn your situation in detail, ensure you meet the requirements, and get this across the line. Thank you.